Hello and welcome to Piedras Blancas Light Station. My name is ABEL. I'm a volunteer here at this spectacular light station. A light station has a lighthouse and it has a number of other support structures that comprise the Piedras Blancas Light Station. The tower is 136 years old. We are located 6 miles north of Hearst Castle on Highway 1. This is a spectacular sanctuary for life on the ground, on the shoreline, in the ocean. It continues to be a refuge and provides protection for both humans and wildlife. This is a historic aid to navigation where a light station would communicate to the mariners out in that very large, expansive Pacific Ocean with a very dangerous coastline. We are in the rotunda of the lighthouse, the first floor. So at nighttime, the way that the mariners would be able to identify which lighthouse they are seeing beams of light from would be the characteristic of the light that came from this lighthouse tower. We have here a quarter scale of the Fresnel lens that was inside at the topmost lens room of the Piedras Blancas Lighthouse Tower. The source of power for this lens was by way of a counterweight that came down on a cable and had to be brought up from this lower level up to the first landing. Person that was on duty before sunset and make sure that the wick had been cut cleanly so that it would burn cleanly once it was lit, would also want to make sure that they cranked up this counterweight up to the first landing, and they would go up to the top and use the crank handle to lift the weight underneath, and once it was at the point that they would lock it in place and ready to start the motion of the Fresnel lens, they would light the wick and start that motion so that it would rotate and have two beams of light alternating between the sets of the bullseyes were eclipse panels. As the lens revolved, this created two flashes every 15 seconds with darkness in between. Lens made in Paris, France. Today, the original Fresnel lens is protected next to the Vets Hall in Cambria, California, just south of Point Piedras Blancas. They had to bring down the top portion of the tower because there had been seismic damage to the mortar and brick, and over time, that continued to be a safety issue, a danger, so that it was decided to bring the top area above the second window of the lighthouse tower. So this point up is no longer the top. And inside the lens room is where the Fresnel lens sat, would rotate, would be lit, and project its characteristic pause and then double flash, and the mariners could identify that they were looking at the light from Piedras Blancas Lighthouse because of its characteristic. The Coast Guard tried over the years, when they came to be the managers of Piedras Blancas Light Station, they tried to stabilize this damaged area with some compression belts, but they were not enough to stabilize the very heavy weight at the top of this tower. So there are plans to restore this tower. We are at the early phase of restoration. Restoration on the exterior walls has begun. The funding for this restoration, huge project, is a major challenge to us, but it will be done. And so that all the support that is provided through our tour fees, generous donations, grants, the support that the Piedras Blancas Light Station Association has provided for the restoration of this tower, all comes together that there will be a restored Piedras Blancas Lighthouse Tower. In this rotunda, we have a number of displays, a variety of tools and equipment that are housed in this beautiful cabinet that was recently restored, that identifies some of the equipment and tools that were used at different lighthouses over the years and past. We have diagrams, pictures that identify Piedras Blancas, its very outstanding characteristic Daymar look, conical, black trim, the lens room, so that each lighthouse had a different Daymar look that helped the mariners distinguish one lighthouse from the other. In the interior walls of Piedras Blancas, you have cavities that provided for the passage of air that would provide for the release of moisture and a more controlled temperature. This tower is unreinforced mortar and brick, 100 feet tall in its total height at one time, about 74 feet tall at the present time. Original stairwell, spectacular view as you look up the stairwell to the top landing, where the lighthouse keepers walked up and down these stairs many times with both hands gripping heavy equipment, tools, supplies, the lard oil that was used in the first 12 years to be followed by kerosene. They would store in large containers in these scallop cuts the fuel originally, but then it was found that it was dangerous to store combustible fuels that release fumes that could cause an explosion, so that they had a separate fuel oil house for the kerosene that was used in this tower later on in time. There was a library box that the lighthouse tender started to include for distant, desolate locations like Piedras Blancas, that would include a variety of different publications that many times had messages that conveyed to the workers here: don't give up the ship, work hard, be resourceful, apply yourself, be proud of your job. What you do is important. And so that this library box came on that lighthouse tender that would deliver supplies and fuel 3 to 4 months. Life was tough here at Piedras Blancas. It was demanding. Isolation, the wind, the shortage of water, being away from other family members, friends. It was a tedious, monotonous, demanding job for the safety of others that they will never meet again. There were days that visibility from a ship to land presented a huge challenge to mariners that were not able to see land or beyond the ship, so that a fog signal building was built here at Piedras Blancas that would provide a communication to the sailors by sound to alert them that if they heard the sound coming from this fog signal building, they were getting too close to land. The compressed air was channeled up through the roof line, and the first sound that was used at this fog signal building was an compressed air whistle. The second sound between 1911 and 1936 was an air siren. Followed between 1936 and 1960, air diaphragm sound was used. And that was followed by the air diaphragm sound 1960 to 1975. You can see that they learned over the years there was an improvement in the sound carrying out to the sailors that were getting too near to this very dangerous point, Piedras Blancas. The mariners could then see and find out what was the characteristic of that sound, that they would look in their light lists, which the mariners carried on their ships, that would identify the sound that they were hearing and where it was coming. So that in this case, you would have a blast for 2 seconds, silent for 20 seconds. That meant they were hearing the fog signal sound coming from Piedras Blancas. The Piedras Blancas Light Station is a sanctuary. This 1902 instruction to the lightkeepers essentially noted the importance of providing protection for the wildlife that existed and continues to exist today at Piedras Blancas Light Station. We hope that you will come and visit and see for yourself what a spectacular sanctuary Piedras Blancas is, and to look at the natural beauty, the spectacular views, the rich heritage at this historic Piedras Blancas Light Station.